All right, we are here. Welcome, everybody, to another Street Epistemology review show. Today, we are on a new channel, David McDonald's channel. What's up, David? How are you doing?
I'm good. Very good.
Nice.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Sure thing. Yeah, thanks for letting us do it on your channel. And we also have Chucky, Nathan, and Janosch. What's up, you guys?
What's up?
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, so David, want to give some background on what this video is about? And all of us are having like questions of even should we do this? Like what? Yeah. There's a bunch of questions around this we should be talking about.
Yeah, it was a tricky one for me as well. Like, do I put it out? Essentially, I've been interested in SE for a while. I spoke to you years ago, Reid, and you convinced me to get this microphone. Oh, nice. And I just started jumping on Omegle and chatting to random strangers. I think, and it was just a fun thing to do. And I landed this interview with Brian, who had some questionable views. You would say a lot of anti-Semitic stuff, a lot of flat earth racist kind of stuff, and so it was an interesting conversation to have because I was conflicted in these conversations need to be had, but how do you have them in a responsible way that's not spreading hate or misinformation, and so that's what we're all discussing, I guess, prior to the event.
Yeah, this is going to be an unusual talk that I've reviewed. Yeah, we just talked a lot before we went live, trying to figure out all the ethical implications of even reviewing it. And so, even though Reid is triggered by trigger warnings, I just want to, for my audience at least, if this one isn't for you because it has content about racism in it, then go ahead and skip it. Though, in my mind, street epistemology is about finding the person who no one is talking to, who is self-isolating in a belief, and being the first person to go out and talk to that person to help someone reflect on their views. And it's not always just to learn stuff, because sometimes I just want to interview people and learn things. There are plenty of people that are smarter than me, and I want to uncover their reasons for why they're thinking what they're thinking so I can learn. And in this instance, this is like next level difficult for me to hear. So I won't elaborate too much further, other than like we want to have difficult conversations about difficult things, and we want to help people reflect on their views. That's what, to me, SE is all about. So anyway, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I think I'm the only one in this review who hasn't seen the video, or at least parts of it. So I've only heard basically what you said about the video, and I know that, like, from you, I know that there will be some anti-Semitic views in it. But in general, I agree that SE is supposed to be a conversational technique that we can use to have conversations about topics that usually would upset us, that usually would maybe upset most people, or sometimes even make them aggressive. And I think it's for that reason that you can have these kinds of conversations is valuable, and we should use it more, even though it can be hard listening to some of the views that may be expressed by our interlocutor.
Yep. All right, let's just watch the first few minutes of the video, and then we will skip around, not listening to all of this anti-Semitic and irrational ranting going on in this whole video. So if you want to watch the whole video, we have a link in the description, but we'll probably be skipping around a bit. So here we go.
Hey, how you doing?
Like the intro.
What? How are you?
Good. Just so you know, I'm a YouTuber. I record videos with conversations with strangers, talking about what you believe and why. I was just wondering if you'd be interested in having a conversation about something you believe in.
Sure.
So obviously, it's a bit confrontational to just jump straight into it, but just to give you some context, I'm not going to be screaming at you or anything. I'm practicing this thing called street epistemology, which is just to try and understand your what's something you believe in, and just try and like I'll ask questions to try and understand it in a better perspective. So it works really well if you have like something that you believe like really strongly, and then and that's something that you can like have a claim towards that. So maybe it could be that you believe ghosts are real, or that God is real, or that you could believe that maybe the Democratic Party is the best party in the world, or whatever.
Okay, right. Okay. Well, before we go any further, like I haven't seen your channel.
Yeah, I'll give you the link.
Can I just ask you a couple quick questions?
Absolutely. And of course, if you don't want this interview to go up by the end of the conversation, I won't use it.
Okay, so your name is David.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Brian.
Oh, hi,
you
Brian.
live in the UK, or where you live?
I'm in Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
Are you? What's your ethnic background?
I've just finished an ancestry test. I'm mainly Scottish, English and Scottish, I think, and a bit of Italian.
Cool. Excellent. Okay. Proceed.
Okay. Well, so do you have any like beliefs that you hold quite
Yes.
strongly?
Yes. As
So
a matter of
I already have something I want to mention.
I
Right off
think
the
your mic input is different from what it was.
how about
That's-
now?
That's better. Okay, good.
That's better. Okay.
Yep.
Right off the bat, I would want to ask him why he's asking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Though getting asked that question, sometimes you might want to just answer. Do you know before this conversation's going in this direction that he's going to be saying things that are anti-Semitic?
No, literally,
Oh.
like when you see it start,
You had no
that's when it
idea.
starts.
Okay.
It's Omegle. Like it's completely
Oh,
random. Yeah,
I actually
didn't
had
know
this-
anything about him.
I had the same question. So there was no discussion between you two before
No.
this started.
In fact, where you see it
Interesting.
start is exactly when the screens
Connection
like,
started,
within
yeah.
within a second of the screens coming together. That's why
Oh,
you see him
that's-
kind of look at the camera like, is this real? Because usually like people make fake cameras on Omegle, and my camera quality looks good, so he might have just assumed I was fake.
Oh, very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's particularly interesting because later in the video, he knows what he can and can't say on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we'll keep going.
back. So I have a BitChute channel. You ever heard of BitChute?
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
Well, BitChute.com is a website. It's one of many. That's kind of an alternative to YouTube. A lot of us are like
This is where I got
refugees
nervous.
from YouTube that got kicked off of YouTube
Mhm.
because of these beliefs,
Mhm.
you know? And so I'm on BitChute. But my channel, I talk about how the earth is flat and how, and how the white race is the true, pure Adamic white race, and we're the true children of Israel, and how the Jewish people, the modern Jewish people, are stealing our identity as the covenant people and calling themselves Israel, and they have no claim to any of the 12 tribes of Israel, and how they're basically everything that Jesus said they were.
Okay.
What were you
Might
thinking
wanna
at this
pause there.
point? Yeah.
So at this point, I got nervous straight away when he said he had like some alternative to YouTube, because I was like, okay, like usually if you can't put your content on YouTube and you're going somewhere else, there's a reason. There's a reason. It's usually, I thought it might be, it might be something like conspiratorial or something like that. Conspiratorial or racist or something. And then when he started mentioning the Jews and stuff like that, I was like, I was like, how? Immediately, I was like, how much do I let him kind of continue his, because it's kind of a win if he just kind of spews a bunch of his hateful ideas and I don't kind of interject. So it was actually immediately I was like, okay, alarm bells. I need to make sure I'm paying attention to this one and really kind of try and guide the conversation. I don't know if I did too well, but yeah. It was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I assume you weren't
Yeah.
streaming this; you were just recording it
No, it was just
locally.
recorded.
So, like, if I was in this situation, I'd be thinking, "Wow, gold mine!
Really?
This could be a really interesting conversation." Like, this is SE on super hard mode.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's legendary difficulty.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I think yeah, I guess so. I guess it's maybe a little bit. I found the conversation itself quite easy because it seems to be the same because I'm just the best, obviously. I found the conversation quite easy, but I don't know if I did very well at it. Like, because it is a hard conversation, but I just tried to make sure I tried to get him to a point where we could entertain some hypotheticals. And when we started noticing later on that he wasn't engaging in the hypotheticals, that's when I tried to, I guess, end the conversation.
right. We'll get to those hypotheticals later. Though, if somebody is clearly showing that they're unable to entertain a hypothetical, that's when I just address what I'm doing. I'm trying to just explore hypotheticals here. It's the only way to really bring a focus in on it. And if somebody isn't able or willing to entertain a hypothetical, then I wonder if we're even having a discussion at that point. And then you can ask them, like, did you even want to talk about this? Are you open to it? That sort of thing.
So do you think that if this wasn't recorded, if this was just a one-on-one conversation, let's say you met at a bar or you're just browsing Omegle and you just met this guy and you weren't recording, would you have similar reservations talking to this guy? Would you just cut it off straight away? Or would you?
I'd probably, if I was at a bar, I'd probably find someone more interesting to talk to because the ideas are just boring to me, and I don't want to get into any personal attacks, but I just probably find someone else to talk to. But if I was cornered in a room, I had to talk to this person, I probably would push back a little bit on the street epistemology techniques, and I'd probably be a bit more. I'd probably try and understand his perspective the same, but I'd probably then interject a lot more at the end, and I wouldn't kind of tap dance around my objections. I would just say I don't agree for XYZ reasons, and I'd let the argument get spicy because I like a spicy argument, but obviously in these SE conversations that's not the point. So that's my honest answer of what I would do.
Well, I was wondering because there's when you're recording, there is the potential objection that what you just said. If you give him a platform to spew his ideas, and you don't have that problem when you're talking one-on-one when you're not recording. So and what we want basically, I think, with SE is we don't do these videos because that is SE. Doing videos is SE, and recording it is SE. SE is actually having these conversations that we're doing the videos in order to teach people to have these conversations. So I was wondering, like, if any of us were having a conversation like that with someone with these ideas, would we have these reservations, or would we basically go like what Reid said? It's a gold mine. It's fascinating. Let's do this, and actually do SE. And of course, when you're recording, you can still decide later on you're not going to publish it, of course. But
yeah, I think my hesitancy about this video and reviewing this video comes from the idea that it's public, right? It's not about. I think it's maybe even unequivocally great to have this conversation privately, but I'm a little bit worried about having it on the internet. He goes on to talk about where he gets these beliefs, and he saw a video and it made him think, and he looked something up, and then he got into watching this kind of stuff on YouTube, and I don't know if there's culpability there. Like, how many people are going to watch this review and think flat Earth? Let me look that up.
The chance is pretty low. on
The
that.
chances are low, but there may be people, and I think that's, for me, that's the worry.
Yeah, I agree with you. And actually, I was concerned about maybe bleeping things out, like his channel or the videos that he referenced. But when I checked out the videos, I was like, these are so unconvincing. I was like, I don't know if I think they might even bolster the other side more, because it's, you know, but at the same time, I guess there are some people who would find it very convincing. So it's a very hard thing to kind of traverse. Like, how do you make these decisions? I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, I think that you would have that sort of problem if, let's say, you went on a train or an airplane or whatever, reading a book with like flat Earth in the title, and people saw it. You would have to ask yourself the same question: am I messaging to the world that there is something like flat Earth? So I don't know if that really is an ethical concern, specifically with having these kinds of reviews and mentioning these kinds of
I
ideas.
think this is a little bit much. I mean, it's a little bit more than reading a book that has the words flat Earth in the title, right? Like,
sure. Yeah.
This is letting him speak for 45 minutes about all of this stuff and giving sources. And, you know, someone might think he's charismatic. Someone might think, you know, because a part of this thing, and haven't we heard this so many times, right? He's done his research, and he knows better than society. He knows better than the average person, right? And that's somehow appealing to some people.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess the thing is too. I guess it's a little hypocritical, because I guess I do. If he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, I would be extremely frustrated because of the size of the platform. And if he sat down with the president and did like a back and forth, I'd be even more horrified. You know. So I guess you know, if this video blew up and got millions of views, I would all of a sudden feel a lot more guilty. So. How do you? But then at the same point, reading a book on the train with title Flat Earth, it's the same thing. It's just the chance of it influencing groups of people is much lower.
It's maybe a difference in scale.
Yeah, difference in scale. How do you find that line? Is there a line?
Yeah.
Well, by the nature of what we're doing is we're trying to explore people's beliefs. I feel like the Joe Rogan podcast is a very different sort of like thing. Like, he's not really investigating beliefs in the same way. So
Pull it up, Jamie.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Anyway, we'll keep going with this a little bit, and then we'll skip to another section.
Okay.
Well, do you, out of all those things I heard, flat Earth, some things about Jews and Israel, is any one of those things that you'd be happy to discuss now? Like, maybe we could talk flat Earth, or
I think we might have to keep them like somewhat intertwined, because they both go hand in hand very strongly with me. Okay. But I will say, like, you know, belief is the death of intelligence. So, like, I know what a belief is and what, like, a fact is and what's, like, provable, or what a logical thought process is, compared to, like, someone saying everybody knows, you know.
Did you see that?
Yeah, this is something I've run across before too. It's something, when you use the word belief, it signifies to some people that it's made up, that it's not a fact, that it's an opinion, that it's a taste, a preference. And it's funny because I've seen the same sentiment before, and it's like, I mean, things you think. What? You know? Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Some of the things that everybody thinks they know is just wrong.
Okay. So would you say that this intertwined belief is essentially that, would you say, how would you, if you could sum it up in like one sentence so we could investigate it, what would you say it is? So the Earth is flat.
Okay, so me kind of, so I'm an American. I was born in 1982, and uh-oh, you there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, basically, to really understand, you'd have to kind of, for me, 9/11 was an event that really got me like looking into things.
Mm-hmm.
And then one thing went into another, and one thing went into another. And I really wanted to get a handle on, understanding what we're told.
Okay.
Because I was told a bunch of things as a child, just like everybody else was, that just ended up not being true. And we need to look at why we were lied to and who lied to us, and and why things are going crazy all over the world.
I can empathize with that from like going back in time. If I was probably my age now, thinking about official government and media sources saying there are WMDs in Iraq, and then we started a war over this, and then we found out a few years later it's all lies. I can empathize with starting down this potential track of trying to figure out why that happened. So maybe express some of that empathy potentially. But then, we don't want to go too far down that road. So, yeah.
I think there's something interesting. David asked a very clear, I mean, my opinion, but clear question, right? Can you summarize in one sentence what you believe? We still haven't even heard. He's telling about like what led to this belief. And like, this is something I think everybody does, right? Because they have all these ideas and they're trying to put them in words. But I like watching through this conversation, he almost never seemed to answer your questions directly. And I think if I could give some pointed criticism, it would be that you should have kept him to task better. You should have said, "Oh, I hear what you're saying, but my question was, what do you believe?"
Yeah.
Because he sort of took off and just flew away.
Yeah, don't lose focus.
It's really hard.
I do remember.
It's hard, yeah.
I don't remember when it was, but at some point in the interview, I realized, like what you were saying, Reid, like this is an interesting video for people to watch, and I was actually like, I was nervous about like if I push him too hard, he may just be like, "Screw you, man! Like I'm not, and then leave, and then the conversation will never be seen by anyone." So I was also hesitant in, I guess, in pushing back a little bit hard, but I think I probably should have, in retrospect, pushing back harder, like you said, holding him to task on what he's saying.
Yeah, and there's also just the rapport building technique of listening. Like if you listen more, that builds rapport, and this is very much the beginning of the conversation. So there's a trade-off between staying focused and building rapport through listening.
There's definitely a trade-off. I feel
when
like
you're on Omegle or whatever, like you kind of need to work on the rapport. So I see why you went that route.
Yeah.
A lot of people think I'm joking. Like they think when I start it, they think, and I say, "Oh, I've got YouTube." They think it's like a prank channel or something, and then they. So I have to spend a bit of time trying to show them that I'm not trying to make fun of them.
I think all of what you're saying is valid, Nathan and Reid, but I feel like it continues through the rest of the video. And so maybe one thing you could do is say, in order to pay attention to both of our time constraints, or you try to bring him into this process and say, let's not get too far afield. I'm really interested, and I heard you say so and so. Can we go back to that kind of thing?
You can always just pick something that you heard and be like, hey, that one thing. Let's focus on that one thing and not deviate from it, because there's everything from flat Earth to religion to racism. Like it's all over the place.
The World Trade Center.
Yeah, and it starts out with the conspiracies, probably.
So
Yeah.
I think at this point, I mean,
Should we go forward to
yeah,
the-
maybe we shouldn't hear anymore in the
Oh,
sense
I
that,
do-
like,
I do ask. I think I do ask a pointed question right here
Oh, okay.
about. Maybe we keep playing.
Sure.
okay.
Is it possible that I mean it'd be easier if we was thinking of one specific thing, but is it possible that we weren't lied to? Is this that the people that gave us the information were also mistaken? Yeah, you can stop there. So straight away, I was trying to give the audience there an out to dismiss some of his anti-Semitic claims. So instead of someone watching this and thinking that we're talking about this and talking about, you know, Jewish conspiracies and stuff, I'm trying to build a rail, like if someone's watching this and they're kind of agreeing with Brian, I'm giving them an alternative perspective that is maybe they're just also maybe they're also mistaken, or maybe the people who maybe we're not being lied to, maybe the people who have told us information about history and stuff are also mistaken. So I'm giving, in this section, I'm just giving the audience a hypothetical route if they started agreeing with Brian.
Yeah, which comes off probably to him as like a leading question.
Yeah.
And so there is the trade-off between letting the audience know potentially, you know, you don't believe this, but is still trying to keep it as a question in the kind of format of SE. So yeah, that's hard.
Maybe it's a matter of style, but I feel like in a way trying to challenge the belief before he's been able and you've been able to restate the belief may be a little premature.
Yeah.
Because you need that agreement.
Yeah. I do notice that with my videos, I seem to be all over the place in regards to my technique. I think I need to look at more of the SE literature to try and understand the process, because essentially I read some of the Google Doc, you know, a couple of years ago. I don't know if it even still exists. And then my only other SE training is watching Reid's videos, you know, over and over again, different videos and stuff. So, and some of Anthony as well. So that's the full extent of my, and then also trying to put those techniques into practice when I'm talking to people like some of my Christian friends and family who question me on why I'm not a Christian anymore or something like that. So,
Well, stay tuned, because over the past 2 years, there's been the whole team of people working on the new Street Epistemology course, and module 1 is like very close to being finished and being open to testing and review for the public. And module 7 is already done. Module 3 is already done. So we'll hopefully have the first 7 done in a few months, and that'll be the first phase. Lots of good stuff there. All right.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, we'll keep going for this, and then we'll probably go forward a little bit.
Well, yeah, like your basic high school teachers, they're probably not in on the lie. They're just, you know, going through their syllabus and teaching what they were taught.
Yeah.
But there is you know, one group of people that claim to have the highest IQ of any group of people on the earth, and I point my finger at these people. They know better, and they've pushed their lie in their movies and perpetuated the lie. So when you're watching TV, which I haven't watched TV in like many years, but anytime I'm someplace in public, they have the TV on, I get sick. But yeah, they're showing you that globe like all day, every day, starting with when you're a little kid and you don't have the ability to think critically or anything like that.
Could we investigate the flat Earth model? Because that's something I'm really interested in.
We can do a little bit of that, but I don't like people's opinion to be swayed on what I say or how I make them feel.
Yeah, I don't want. Obviously, you're not like the messiah of the flat Earth movement or anything.
Right. I'm just someone that's done a strong amount of research on it to where I don't have all the answers to how all the inner workings work.
Yeah.
But I can break it down pretty easily.
Do you think if I was to give you a confidence scale from 0 to 100, 100 being 100% confident and 0 being not confident at all, what would be your confidence level that the Earth is flat? Or let's not say flat. Let's say not a globe.
Not a globe, 100%.
Okay, I'll just write that down. 100%.
Not a globe in outer space.
The Earth is not a globe.
Might ask
Wait.
like 100% meaning like no question, all answers.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe ask
and
them
also,
what 100% means. Yeah.
does it mean that it's impossible that you could be wrong? Because I think
Hmm.
that might stop some people, and they go, maybe not 100.
Hmm.
And did he say not in outer space? Like there is no outer space. It's like a
Yeah.
firmament thing.
He doesn't seem to believe in outer space. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. All right, we'll keep going.
Okay, cool.
Not a spinning water ball that came from a big bang that came out of nothing that turned us into primordial ooze that turned us into monkeys that turned us into people.
Yeah.
No. No way.
Question.
That's the
Why did you correct yourself? Why did you go from how confident are you that the Earth is flat to, okay, let's say not a globe?
I think because I'd just be guessing with how my mind works. I can't really remember, but I think it was more that his perspective was that the Earth wasn't a globe and not necessarily that the Earth could be, flat, but it could be a disc, it could be
A cube.
He doesn't
Saddle
like
shaped.
he mentioned that he doesn't have all the answers. So I'm imagining that his problem was the globe model, not necessarily that, because I know that there is no flat Earth model. We can't make any novel testable predictions with any realm with the flat Earth model. There is no model to make any testable predictions with. So I switched it around so that he could have a higher confidence level, so we could discuss that instead. But
so maybe a risky strategy. So listening to this, my gut says that Brian is motivated to hold beliefs that are against the grain.
Mm-hmm.
And it might have been worth sort of stopping and going, something I've noticed about the things you're telling me is that like none of these things are commonly held. What commonly held beliefs do you hold?
Ooh.
Oh, that would have been a great question.
Yeah.
Hindsight is 2020.
yeah. But it's wild that I almost feel like if he were given two views and he was told 90% of people believe this and 10% of people believe this, he'd go probably the 10%.
Yeah. Do you believe you're breathing air or something?
Right. Yeah.
Or if it was the other way around, let's say you found out tomorrow that you were mistaken about this particular belief. It doesn't need to be the flat Earth. Could be a different example. That in fact 90% agreed with you. What would you think about that belief? Would you still hold it as firmly?
Yeah, that's to make the hypothetical. What if more people believed this? Would that change your view?
Yeah.
I think at this point maybe we can skip forward because
all right.
Unless David, you think there's something good.
No. I think it just kind of starts to get a bit. The conversation gets very blurry at this stage.
Yeah, it sort of goes in circles, and there's a lot of just there's this, and then there's this, and there's this. Just it's a lot of what.
Yeah. All right. I'm forwarding to 1835. The challenge.
Okay.
All right.
Your race children, and so the European.
This is all extraordinarily, and I don't mean this in any negative way, but left field of what I understand.
It's because everything that you and I were taught, not just about the Bible, but about the earth, how it works, psychology, about groups, about races, about everything. Everything they taught us is complete and total utter nonsense. And I think you have to at least grasp the fact that you're probably surrounded by a lot of adults, or you see people on here that are adults, but they have the minds of like 6-year-olds that were abused. I mean, these people are fucked up. And now with the COVID shit, you're seeing just how these people are so far away from their natural instincts, their natural senses. They're so far away from their ancestors that they're just basically waiting for commands from the government. Like, can I breathe? Can I have a business? Am I allowed to defend myself? Am I allowed to speak? It's like, dude, you are these people that Jesus Christ said you're the synagogue of Satan.
Maybe we can stop here.
Yeah, let's stop. Yeah, I've had some criticism from friends or some Discord users that have said, watch that you're nodding, because like I'm nodding to kind of show rapport, but he's saying like some really racist stuff. And I'm like, interesting, yeah. And so it's like, you know, it comes across like if someone was to watch it, like, you know, I can see someone making a compilation video of me just like nodding to someone saying racist stuff, and it just would come across so bad. So I've got to. How do you do that? How do you try and show rapport with someone without also implicitly or explicitly coming across that you agree with their ideas?
I don't think that you can really build rapport and show them that you're listening without nodding. I mean, imagine if he was telling you all this and you weren't nodding the entire time. Yeah, all right. That would come across as really weird. So I think nodding, and that's also such a natural instinct. Even when we disagree with someone, oftentimes maybe we will shake our head in between and also keep on nodding. Yeah, I disagree with that, but yeah, I'm hearing you. So I think it's just what's important is that we make it clear. Well, when you're having the conversation, it should become clear that nodding does not mean agreement with the view itself.
This is definitely an aside, but I spent some time in India, and one of the things I loved about that culture is the head bubble.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean yes, and it doesn't mean no. It just means I hear you, or I understand.
That's cool.
Yeah, I wish we had that in our culture. So let's keep going.
So actually, before we go on, I wanted to say that this is because I wanted to say that I liked that David managed to pull this off. He communicated to Brian, this is a little out there, and Brian didn't seem to get defensive.
Right.
And so I just sort of wanted to like give you a thumbs up, David.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. It's incredibly courageous of you to carry on like an hour-long talk with somebody who's saying all these things. Like I would have a hard time holding back a lot of my like rage. So
no, I think I've been people have said that I do that quite well. I think I got a lot of practice during the same-sex marriage discussions on Facebook. I was just leaving my faith, and everyone was coming at me about same-sex marriage on Facebook, and I knew that other people were watching our conversations because I used to be a youth pastor, and they were watching what they were saying, and I knew I had to be extremely cordial, and I think I got really good at just removing myself from the emotion and just going, okay, like, and just I think
kindness will take you really far in this world. In conversations. Yeah. And I really wish, like, if he ever sees this review, you'll probably never get a chance really to maintain that rapport again. So I worry about that. Though I think that this guy needs a couple more talks a couple more SE talks to really flush out his reasons and the quality of his reasons. Anyway, we keep going.
I think the reason sorry to keep messing you up, but I think the reason this works so well is sincere. People can tell when you're being sincere, and acknowledging sort of the elephant that's in the room can be powerful.
Yeah, and there's a difference between like sincerely, like contemplating these beliefs, like the flat Earth, and sincerely listening, like that.
Right.
You know, we do sincerely listen,
right?
And there's difference between
there's a difference between tolerating a belief and accepting what you're hearing, right?
Yeah, like
I can tolerate listening to this. I won't. I am not accepting it like in its current state.
Yeah, if I was talking to this guy and you like read my Apple Watch heart rate, like I don't think it would be any different from just just hanging out, listening to anything. Like, I wouldn't have any problem talking with this person. I think I definitely try to separate people from their beliefs, and I
Right.
can see him as like just this, victim of circumstance. I don't know how he got into this place, but he's just like anybody could end up here if they were in their
Exactly.
situation potentially. So I'm not blaming him, and I'm not gonna accuse him of being any kind of being a bad person merely because he believes this. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Just to comment on that too, I think that's what I liked about your videos, Reid, is because that comes across very like it comes across very much so that you don't necessarily like the belief claim and the person are so separate. It seems like you could be talking to a robot and just running like logic tests almost, but you do it in like a calm and kind way, where you still respect the person even if they've got some wild beliefs, and that's why I love your content. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. All right, we'll keep going here.
I think we should actually switch to the next, because basically my memory is that there's a whole diversion into the Bible and all sorts of stuff, and it doesn't really get back on track until David doesn't try to get it back on track until 23.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Interesting. Do you that was super interesting, because I've got a background in I like to study religion and stuff, so that was interesting to hear your perspective. But just regarding the Earth is not a globe, your confidence, what got you to such high confidence for the Earth not being such a globe? Like, if you could give me a few things.
Well, this was I would say this was back in like 2016, maybe 2015. I think Obama was president. And anyways, I had never heard of flat Earth before, and Obama was talking in a speech, and he's like, "We don't have time with the meeting of the Flat Earth Society," and I'm like, "What's this guy talking about?" And then I think he said it again in another speech, like, "We don't have time to talk with these flat earthers," and
That's
I'm
exactly
like,
what I
"What
was saying
the
before.
hell?"
I don't know if I can pause this, if I have control to do that or not. So I just kind of interject. Sorry. But I that's exactly what I was saying before, is like, if the president was having this conversation, it would piss me off, because it's giving credibility to it. And just him mentioning it is what drove him down that road. I didn't pick that up before.
Yeah. I'm sure that the implication or the silence thought is that why would the president be mentioning this if it weren't on his mind, or if it weren't important, or if it weren't something that he's trying to squash or something like that.
Right. Or if you're already not a fan of Obama as a president, then him mentioning that could give credibility to Flat Earth Society.
Yeah.
Is this guy talking about? Because I'm someone that kind of stays pretty current on like subcultures and different kind of cultures and groups of people, that I like had never heard of these people before. So I'm just like, I want to know what the leader of the free world is talking about. Like, is this like a joke, or like some kind of inside joke? Or so I like look up flat earther, and I just start looking at their claims, and I'm like, we never went to the moon. And I'm like, oh, well, I knew that because I had learned about that, but I didn't know it had anything to do with flat Earth. I always thought it had to do with us, like, bankrupting the Russians or something like that. That's what I used to believe. And then the flat Earth makes way more sense. But I started looking at all their claims, and I started like trying to debunk like the flat Earth. I'm like, this is so stupid that there's people out there that believe in this. And I start like thinking to myself, like, how do I know I live on a globe again? And I'm like, well, obviously the moon landing is faked, but how do I know that I'm on a globe? And I start trying to like relearn the heliocentric model with an adult, mind. Because like, it's one thing to learn it as a kid. You're just trying to pass the test. Whatever these people say, okay, whatever. But then you're like learning as an adult, like they're saying that we're traveling around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour, and we're on a negative axis of 66.6 degrees.
So this is something kind of interesting. When I was listening to this I was like, oh, he's saying it's ridiculous how fast we're traveling. But then it was only like a couple ticks later that I realized, oh, it's about the sixes. It's 666.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Wow.
Oh, you didn't notice? I noticed that. Okay.
Yeah. So he's saying they're all sixes. And actually, I looked up a table on Wikipedia, and there's like 100 constants or something about how the Earth is tilted. But one of them is something like 6.659 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's proof right there.
And so, yeah, it goes back to him saying that, right, this is all related to the Bible.
Yeah, and this is all related to confirmation bias. He's cherry picking these things, or like he's hearing people cherry pick these things and then not trying to put them in more context of like, yeah.
That's the fact that so many. What he says, we all learn it when we grow up, and we never question it. And then he started questioning it. I mean, that's true for most people, right? Most people who even ridicule people who believe in a flat Earth don't have the evidence, never looked it up, never did the research. So I think that's an interesting point. That people who don't have the evidence, they basically, of course, they trust certain sources, and they may or may not have good reasons to trust these sources, but it's not like most people have the evidence that could easily debunk all the flat Earth claims.
I think this is where you should have really pushed, David. You should have gone, let's talk about these things that you found out. And I think the conversation could have gone towards, well, we've got these books that we read as kids on the one hand, and we've got these videos and websites that you've been looking at on the other hand. How can we determine which of these is more reliable?
And have you tried to find other sources other than these books that you read as a child to counterbalance the videos that you watch, for example? Like, could there be any other sources out there that could give us better evidence than these claims that it's true, it's a globe, that you haven't found or haven't looked at?
Yeah, I'll keep going.
Polaris, the North Star, just stays there, and how all the other stars and constellations rotate around that. And you just start asking questions, and I just couldn't debunk it. It got to the point where it just, like, I started studying their curvature formula, and then I just realized that
maybe we can actually stop.
Okay.
I'm not sure there's a whole lot of meat here. But it does raise another question, which is your job to debunk people making claims? Or is your job to, balance the evidence somehow? Right? If someone comes to you with a claim that says, I don't know, I mean, this is a whole discussion. I can't summarize it in a second, but
yeah,
sorry.
This relates to the goals. Like, you can have just merely understanding your interlocutor, or helping the interlocutor reflect and become a better critical thinker through that process, and then changing the person's mind. And like, one part of the definition that we're working with in the course for, is SE manipulation, is like, what is it? SE is manipulation, and the definition of manipulation is a deliberate, selfish, and dishonest attempt to change someone's mind. So I don't think you're dishonest, but I think I would have the goal of attempting to change the person's mind about flat Earth. And I think that is perfectly fine to do in this situation, because it's an obviously anti-scientific belief. I mean, super implausible. So some people have an issue with SEers having goals like past reflection, like changing someone's mind. And if you do it in this, since we know all these techniques to help people reflect, we assume if we cause them to reflect enough, they will change their confidence plausibly enough to change their mind. So it's like there's a means and an ends thing here. And if our goal is to get them to change their mind, that could lean into manipulation potentially, because we know so much about psychology and all these techniques we're using. So it's a fine line, and I think we have more of a green light when it's having claims like this, and super irrational
Also,
stuff, super unethical stuff.
It's important to note that regardless of your goal, whether that's to encourage someone to reflect or to learn, or to, the third one was persuade, the methods are the same, like for all of them. It's just the intensity of your attitude, really, almost, that I think is the only thing that like changes, really, because we're asking the same kinds of epistemological questions. Though, like, if your goal is to be more changing the mind, I think it would just be like maybe interrupting more, spending that rapport. Like, you built up all this rapport, so now cash in, like interrupt a little bit, maybe, like if it's running on, or you notice it's going in a different direction, and reshift the focus back to like the task at hand. And like, there's just so many things I want. Like, if I were talking to this person, there'd be so many things I would want to be talking about. Flat Earth, but I would probably be stuck on the whole what my ethnicity is. I would have not been able to get past that. Like in the very beginning, I would have been like, okay, so like, why did you ask me that? And then like, I'm just like really curious to know. And then if he's got reasons for that, that is whatever his reason is something I want to SE. Like his reason for asking me in the very get-go. And that would have been just so good to hear what he had to say about that.
Yeah, I'm not as interested in changing minds at this stage. I'm very new to all of this. I'm actually interested in the underlying thought process behind people's beliefs, and not just for them, but a lot for me. Because if I came up with Brian and his underlying thought process was like bang on, like for me, like it made complete sense, it would be the most profound amount of cognitive distance I've ever experienced, and it would it'd be like the hardest workout my brain has ever done to try and like then, okay, what do I believe about flat Earth? What do I, and so it's actually like it's me looking for cognitive dissonance workouts is primarily. I'm trying to find out what people believe and why, and I don't really care too much about the conclusion. I'm just more interested in the underlying thought process, how people form their beliefs.
You probably could have boiled it down to, how do we know to trust these sources and not those sources?
Well, I think I kind of disagree with Nathan a little bit.
Good.
I do believe that the intent does matter, because it will change the way that you will have the conversation, and it will change whether or not, like, you could have intentions that could potentially make it dishonest in a way. So, and it being dishonest is something that I wouldn't want SE to be dishonest at all. I think
Did I say that?
No. You didn't say you didn't care if it was dishonest, but you said we're still using the same method regardless of our intentions. Right.
One potential way of being dishonest is committing a lie of omission, which is not revealing potentially your goal. If it is your goal to change minds, we could be lying by omission,
right,
which might be a form of dishonesty. Like, this is the question. What? I think there are situations where you are committing a lie of omission if you have that goal, but I think in these situations, there's an ethical calculation which overrides that problem of a lie of omission. I think we
can resolve this conflict by simply saying we don't, when we enter into an SE conversation, we don't want to change people's minds. We want them to change their minds if their belief is false, on the condition that the belief is false. Then because we would want as many people as possible to believe as many true things as possible.
Well, that's something that should probably be established. I mean, this is another thing, is that maybe at some point, David, you could have stepped back and gone, wow, this is a lot to take in. I hear you, but
that's the name of the show.
That's the name of your show, Chucky.
Sorry. That was it's funny because I named it because I say it so much. It actually goes that direction.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to say is you could say, but like, go to the root, go to the basis. Do you want to believe true things? Does it matter to you? What would it mean to you if you lost this belief? Right? These sort of foundational questions.
I feel like that.
Yeah, sorry.
I hear what you're saying, but I feel like that would, like, the conversation, it would be so, it would take it in such a different direction. I think if I was to like sit down, if I was like, okay, we're going to have 5 sessions where we talk about this, maybe I would be confident doing that, because I have thought about doing that with certain people, but it would we wouldn't really be talking about, I don't think it would ever be helpful for them or for the audience, because we wouldn't be talking about their claim. But this is just my thoughts. I'd love for you to explain why I'm wrong or something. But I feel like we wouldn't get to the meat of the conversation, and then as a result, no one's even understanding why it's important to have that conversation about why we believe why we should believe true things, etc. Does that make sense? Like, no one's going to watch a video if I'm talking to a flat earther and he says, I believe the earth is flat, and then we just straight away.
This goes back to maybe your goals. Is the goal to make a video that people watch, or is your goal to have a conversation that makes people better people?
It shifted halfway through shifted halfway through.
Because like when I'm talking to people and I realize that it's going off the rails and it's just like Gish Gallop and all sorts of stuff, maybe they're not entertaining hypotheticals that Nathan was talking about before. When I notice it, I have to just pull back and be like, do we have the same goals with this conversation? Like, do you want to believe true things? Do you want to be countercultural, which I think maybe is his goal?
Yeah.
And to explore that kind of stuff, I think is valuable.
Still, I think not asking this specific question, do you want to believe true things? Or if it was false, would you want to find out, or anything like that? I think some guy came up with some questions about a box that you could ask questions. Nathan's famous box test.
I hope it's famous. That'd be great.
I don't know what that is, but
it's great. It's great.
I was thinking about that a little bit during this talk too.
So give us the box. Give us the box.
Yeah,
question,
tell us.
Let me just finish this thought.
Sorry.
I think at this point, talking to this guy, it's been pretty clear that he wanted to believe true things, because he said he was taught this and it's a lie. And then he found this new information and this is true. And it seems pretty, I think it wouldn't be dishonest not to ask the question if you wanted to believe true things. I think it would be fair to assume and continue assuming this without having to ask this question.
The box of truth thought experiment is, it goes like this. Imagine we have before us a box of truth, and we can ask this box any question we want. And when we ask the question, we can open it up and look inside, and it gives us everything that we need to see to believe something is or is not the case. And it gives us the reasons why. Is there any question we would not want to ask this box? Is there something that would prevent us from asking the box to get to whatever is true? And then I usually follow up. A lot of people, like, when they hear that, they think of a lot of horrible things that they wouldn't want to know. So then a follow-up question is, if you could only ask the box questions about your own mind, that would lower your confidence. So in other words, the box can only show you the ways in which you are mistaken about a thing. Would you then still hesitate to ask the box any question? Or are you okay with discovering that you were mistaken about something? And then the third question usually is like, what's your first question? Like, what is the thing you want to know most?
Oh, wow.
And these questions, like this thought experiment, I thought of as a way to externalize. Like, imagine you come across something rather than rationalizing a thing. You come across something external from yourself that helps you to discover something new. And I want to like kind of paint that picture, like that there might be something hypothetically that could change our mind about a thing. And so, yeah, that's a thought experiment. I think it's great to kind of like get the mind ready to accept hypotheticals. So this is usually a thought experiment I do before I offer up hypotheticals to see if someone would even entertain disconfirmation criteria for their beliefs. Because I run up against a lot of resistance for disconfirmation criteria.
As soon as he said 100%, I think the conversation should have switched to talking about this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
That's super interesting.
Cool. Yeah. I think we'll keep going here a little bit.
Most of the world.
If
then they're going to have world.
Just to stick on the topic of flat Earth, I know it's all intertwined, but with these things that you've mentioned, if I was to, like, I'm not saying this is the case, but let's say if someone could come into this conversation and explain to you, to your satisfaction, these things, explain them away, would that lower your confidence in in your confidence in that the Earth is not a globe?
No, because I've dealt with these people. I've been a flat earther for like 7 years, and I've listened to these people like cling to their globe, and like people have been trained.
But even if it convinced you, so like let's say if someone came and showed you how the heliocentric model can work, and it convinced you, like, so you're like, okay, yep, that actually works. Would that lower your confidence?
Yeah, I was convinced as a child. I believed in evolution. I'm like, yeah, this all makes sense.
See how that bounced right off of him? Like, I don't think he entertained that. And he also responded very quickly.
Yeah. You could have rephrased it by saying, is there a possibility you could have been wrong? Because usually people will say yes, but if they say no, that tells you a lot.
But I mean, that's such an invitation. He says, well, even if they could convince me that it works, I still won't believe it because I've been wrong before. That opens up. That's an invitation to asking. So, you know that you have believed things that were false in the past. How do you know that right now you're believing things that are true? You were shown evidence that sounds reasonable, makes sense to you. Why would evidence that sounds reasonable, make sense to you, not convince you that you're mistaken now? What's different now?
Yeah, this goes back to the last thing you said, Janosch, about you could get on his side in a way. You can say, look, we want to believe true things, and you've changed your mind before. What could you find out that might change your mind now? Or is there anything that changed that? And to sort of, you want to be on his side, right? You want to explore.
You're working as a team.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
To figure out how he figured out what he's figured out. Yeah.
Right. And if he's done it in the past, why can't that happen again?
Right. And then, of course, if he said, no, I'm absolutely sure I have the truth now. Of course, you could use the outsider test of faith. If someone else said, I already have the truth, I don't even have to look at other evidence, but they believe in the globe, would they be stuck in their belief? What way would there be for them to find out that they're mistaken and then apply that to them?
Yep. Here we go.
Lower your confidence, even if it could convince you.
I mean, there might be a lot to this Earth that I don't understand. Like, there could be a hole in the North Pole that you can get into. I don't know, but I'm going by the evidence, and I know that water lays flat. It doesn't bend. It doesn't bend and curl to a ball. So you have to have a solid. You can't have like a
just an aside
a vacuum
on that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This always seems to come up, the water finds its level thing, and this is just a kind of a random aside, but it doesn't. Like water always forms in balls all the time. Like raindrops are balls. Like if you put a drop of water on the table, it forms a ball from, I don't know I don't know why this argument still kind of floats around, but
it's another thing you could have pivoted perhaps and said, can we investigate that particular claim specifically? Because I've noticed water droplets. I don't know. I think at this point there's so many claims that it's like it's a little overwhelming.
Which seems to be happening in the live comment section, by the way. Someone's jumped on and is dropping a few flat Earth claims. Yeah.
Oh boy.
They seem fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
But maybe this is another question for everybody. My personal take is that if somebody's giving claim after claim after claim after claim, my gut and my personality say we have to pick one and we have to stick with it. And I'm not going to go chase claim after claim after claim.
Well, it's always good to check if it's a real reason, whatever evidence they're giving. You try to ask, like, if you found to your satisfaction that this, what is the real reason check question? Like if this
wasn't the case,
it wasn't the case, would that change your confidence? If not, then it's not really, it's just a rationalization. It's not something that's really connected to their confidence. It's hard to really gauge that.
Right.
Yeah.
And all of this is really a facade of rationalization. There are deeper psychosocial motivations producing all this. It's about a lot of things potentially. And I would probably stick to probing for those things. And I think the box of truth question is another way of probing for these psychosocial motivations. And that conversation is probably where it needs to head eventually. And then once you've found alternative ways to meet some of that, you can go back to epistemology. But you got to spend some time there, I think. Anyway, here we go.
In space connected to our atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like one's going to there's going to be an equilibrium. It's going to get sucked into one another. There needs to be
may
a
be able to
solid
skip to the next one. I honestly think it's just a few minutes of him explaining how space doesn't work.
Okay. 35, 48. That's it. Gotta find it.
It was a fun conversation. Haven't met the right people.
I think you're like really stuck on this.
Oh, yeah,
You're
sorry. Maybe go back just a couple seconds. So I think this is where he gets a bit defensive, and I thought that this was interesting.
What I'm saying is I'm going with the evidence. And I'm saying for 7 years, all these people that fancy themselves intelligent, that went to the universities and think they know this and that, have tried to get me to go back to the globe. And I'm just laughing at these fools because they can't see the simplicity of how ridiculous it is.
Could it be possible that you just haven't met the right people?
I think you're like really stuck on this. You're like, why doesn't this guy believe what I believe? How can we get this guy to be back to the group?
I can explain where I'm coming from. So so say if someone came up to me and asked me, Dave, why do you think your wife loves you? And I'd say, well, and I could list off these things. And then if someone came to me and said, well, do you think if all those things weren't true, like if you found out that she wasn't telling you she loved you and all that stuff, would that change your confidence? Well, I'd say, well, yeah. But I find that because what happens is I find that when people believe certain things, whether it's religion or something, right, they say that they follow the evidence, but they'll follow the evidence up to a point, and then they will almost form their identity around that point, and then the evidence almost doesn't matter anymore. So what I'm asking is, does the evidence still matter? Like you've arrived there because of evidence.
Yeah, the evidence matters. What I'm saying is I've spent a good amount of time looking at this because the Bible says you can't serve two masters.
Yeah.
So like I've sacrificed what normal people would rather have.
Yeah.
They'd rather have the job and career and the family and just go along with the program and just kind of be ignorant to things. And well, I got this from Fox News, so I'm going to go with Fox News on that one.
Yeah, or CNN.
I went for the truth. Okay, I serve Christ. I don't really care for money. I don't care if I die tonight in my sleep because this world's sick.
Can we pause it for a second?
People can't eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I overstepped there by just explaining, like, I felt like maybe I was belittling him in a little way, in like, I was like, well, this is how I would deal with it if someone questioned me about, does my wife love me? And I wasn't sure if that would have come across as belittling. At the point in this conversation, I could see that we were going around and around and around, and I wanted to just say, look, this is exactly what I'm doing, and just kind of, and I think I probably could have done it better. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. And also, I did want to touch on the point that he did use the word normal. I never picked that up there, and that might go back to what you were saying, Nathan. I think it's Nathan.
Yep.
Chucky, sorry, or Nathan, Chucky. I don't know.
Chucky's.
We're both the same
I
person,
hear you.
actually.
Yeah. I couldn't see the titles came off, and I was like, I don't know you guys. I haven't met you guys today. So yeah, about how like he almost his perspectives might sometimes be just counter whatever if everyone gets an iPhone, he gets an Android. If everyone starts getting Androids, you get an iPhone. Like it just has to be in the out group almost. I don't know.
So this is maybe beside the point, but I picked up a little bit that I think he felt, I'm not really sure, either emboldened or maybe even hurt when he felt made fun of. And I don't mean by what you just said. I mean about like people in general. But I think it's something important to him that other people think that his ideas are ridiculous. I don't know whether he's attracted to it or repelled from it, but there's something about it that seems important.
Interesting.
There is a psychological principle around this where the more fringe something is, the tighter the moral community around that idea. The more outside pressure makes the in-group tighter, and
because you have to stick together to defend.
Yeah, because it's about loyalty. Like you can't
solidarity.
You can't signal loyalty saying I believe the Earth is a globe, and with both people. Like, if you have a bunch of people who say I believe the Earth is flat, and they all find each other, and everyone else thinks they're crazy, but they're together, they can have a nice solidarity in group, and that's a very clear loyalty signal psychologically, and that's what these beliefs, they help meet these needs for people. This is what's happening.
He did mention too that I lost my train of thought. Darn it. Darn it. Oh.
Well, you asked if you could have done it better, and I think.
Oh yeah.
Maybe if you hadn't given your own example, I don't know if the example, if you found that appropriate or inappropriate or insulting or I have no idea, but there's always a risk that they think, well, yeah, of course, that example or whatever. And if you had just kept it more abstract, like, sorry for giving you that impression. That's not what I was trying to do. I was just wondering, like, if you give all these reasons why you believe it, and if all these reasons weren't present, if you found out that they weren't reliable or whatever, and you say you wouldn't change your mind, like, how would you be able, if you were mistaken, how would you be able to find that out? And simply explain the abstract concept. Might have been better, but I'm not even sure about that. So that's just the first thought that came to mind.
I think I did try, and I don't know how many times I did try and ask him about like the hypothetical of what would sway him in some way or another, and he would pivot usually.
Yeah.
I
He's
noticed that a
definitely
lot.
very bouncy. He bounces off of your questions really easily.
All right, almost done here. Should we keep going here, Chucky?
I'm not sure if it's worth looking. Maybe just a little bit more, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I could probably wrap it up very soon here.
Look and go with the truth. They hate the truth. They avoid at all costs, and they're going to burn in hell. I mean, these people are living in a fantasy world. They're making children wear masks. if you know anything about communism, you should know where we're
Yeah,
at
maybe we
and
should
who's
stop
in
here.
that's
control.
that's the thing that I lost my train of thought of. It's the same with I mean, I hate to I won't even mention it, but it's the same with things like masks and stuff. The anti-mask community, or the C word, anti-C word, the community, they're getting a lot of pressure from the outside, and you see they're getting more and more and more and more like I won't use the word radicalized, but it just seems
intense.
Read what you're saying before. Intense. I'm trying to pick my words carefully here. I don't want a little Wikipedia thing to come under this video that says research this.
Oh, right.
But Reid, that makes a lot of sense. What you're saying before about how fringe groups, like the more I remember reading something as well, like a while ago, where and I could be wrong about this, but if someone believes something and you give them evidence against that, if they believe something internally, it can actually strengthen their beliefs instead of which is crazy that our brains do that.
Well, it's not clear that that's a backfire effect, and it's not clear if that really exists. There's been some research that has found the backfire effect, and they tried to reproduce it in a later study, and they couldn't find it, so it's unclear. But it's a possibility.
Interesting.
I think at the very least, probably we've all had conversations where people don't want to hear facts. I mean, that's the point. That's the point of doing SE. I don't think he's ready to hear, about the circumference of the Earth and things like that. I think this would have been another opportunity to say, I hear you talking about how important truth is to you. How do we know that you're not mistaken? How did you come to 100% confidence? How is there no way that you could be wrong? Just bring it back to these things.
Yeah.
Have you got? This is a very broad question. It's probably been answered before, but what do you guys think about the idea of going to like a very hyperbolic example of, like, when someone gives 100% confidence of something, going to like an example like, how do you know that you're not a brain in a vat, or how do you know you're not imagining all this in a mental institution, banging your head against the wall? Like, how do you know?
One strategy I've heard when talking to people who are, I don't want to label him, but conspiracy theorists. So maybe I do want to label him. But when you're talking to,
him and then you label him.
Yeah. One strategy is to actually just make a more extreme claim.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like he's saying, the Earth is flat. I don't think the Earth exists.
Yeah.
And see how he pushes back.
Mm.
Yeah.
I actually, this is just a funny aside too, but I had a friend who was really into the Illuminati back in like 2010, like the Illuminati kind of stuff. And I remember saying to him, I text him, and because I was trying to like get his thought processes going, because I wasn't sure how I sat with it or anything, but I said, hey, have you heard about the White Eagle Society? And he's like, no. I'm like, they're the ones behind the Illuminati. They control. And I used all the same talking points for the Illuminati, but then just created a group higher than the Illuminati called the White Eagle Society or something. And he was like blown away. Like I didn't have to show him any evidence or anything. He was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I was like, dude, I made all this up. But do you see how easy it was for you to, it was exciting to jump to like, oh, the White Eagle Society, like that's so cool. Like, yeah. So I don't know.
Cool. Well, that was a fascinating video, David, and I'm enjoying your channel a lot. What are your plans for the channel in the future? Any other plans to like go out in IRL, or how else can I try to get conversations?
Well, it's interesting because I'm in a bit of a crossroads. Oh, thank you for saying that though. But I'm in a bit of a crossroads at the moment where I really enjoy making SE content, but I also really enjoy making like spicy yell at each other arguments as well. And then I also enjoy. I also it's hard. I'm in this like crossroads. Like some of my videos come across as quite reasonable. I'm trying to have a best faith effort in trying to talk to people about things, and some of my videos that aren't SE related, that aren't the belief talk stuff, is me being more entertaining, and trying to ridicule what I think are bad ideas and stuff. So it is a bit of a hard. I'm actually debating a lot of like where I want to take the direction, but I think for the most part, the thing that I'm most proud about on my channel, besides some of my best videos, is the Deep Drinks podcast, where I interview people from. I've interviewed like a Hare Krishna. I've interviewed a Christian. I've interviewed people who have lost their family when they came out as I'm gay. It's not straight epistemology, but it's more just about hearing what they have to say and not pushing too hard against their beliefs. And that's been really good. And I just interviewed Dr. Joshua Bowen, who's a Syriologist, and he explained a lot of the background of Mesopotamia and the Old Testament, and slavery, which was super interesting. So I am enjoying that part. So what I have in regards to the future, I'll probably continue doing the Belief Talk stuff, which is Omegle interviews, doing SE stuff, but then I'll also probably continue my spicy content, my funny content, and then I'll probably continue the deep drink stuff and whatever I get more fulfillment out of. This is the year of content. I'm just going to keep producing more and more content until I start to find a bit of a niche. So yeah,
cool. Awesome.
Yeah, man, keep it up. And I just wanted to thank you for your courageousness and having such a long deep dive with somebody that's really difficult to talk to. And
thank you.
I'm sure that many people are out there thinking a lot of the same things, mostly because they find their niche community that makes them feel validated and supported. And then we're creating these like silos of thinking, these bubble communities where we're not branching out and talking to one another. And I was hesitant to even be on this stream today. We skipped a lot of racist stuff, which is good for my mental health.
Yeah.
Though, like, we need to talk to each other more with people who we don't want to talk to. If we want to come together and solve our conflicts, there isn't any other way. That's one of the reasons why I was like trying to push myself to get motivated to come be a part of this stream today, even though it was like deeply uncomfortable to even think about.
I wanted to share,
it's about making a difference. Yeah.
In that vein, because this talk, his claims exist on a spectrum, right? And maybe these are pretty extreme claims. But when I started doing these conversations, I told my friend about this, and her reaction was, "Wait, are you going to talk to Republicans?"
Whoa.
And I said, "Sure, I would talk to Republicans." And she said that if I put videos up talking to Republicans, I would be causing harm to women and people of color.
Wow.
And
that would be worth SEing right there.
Well,
Yeah.
A truer thing has never been said. No, I'm kidding.
Granted, but I just wanted to point out, right? This is a thing maybe in the zeitgeist of our culture about siloing beliefs and not having conversation. And so I said to her, well, if not through conversation, how would we change their mind? And she said violence.
Whoa.
Wow.
Right.
And I think that is the dichotomy, right? That's the choice. If we either can talk to people or we can use force. If we don't like their ideas, those are pretty much the only two choices.
Or, I mean, we could ignore it too, though. Ignoring it just makes it grow and fester, and the problem just gets worse, right? And there is a political divide in this country where there's people identifying as one party versus another party, and we're just splitting apart. The chasm between our understanding is growing. So we got to find a way to address that.
Before we started the stream, we were talking about the example of Daryl Davis, who talked to KKK members, right? And that's one of the best examples. I also read a book about a German family. That's Daryl Davis right there. That this is on the Joe Rogan podcast. Is that right? Yeah, I haven't seen that. I got to watch this. There's also a movie about Daryl Davis, so if anyone's interested. I read a book about a German family written by the daughter who grew up like it was a Nazi family. Everything was Nazi ideology from when she was little, and she grew up in that family and only had Nazi friends, etc. And this effect that you described, this pressure from the outside makes the community grow even tighter. That happened with her as well. She said when they went out to a bar and they recognized, oh, those are Nazis, usually they got kicked out. And of course, sometimes there was a brawl, there was violence, but they knew, okay, so it's us against the world, or there are certain places where we can go, and those are our in-group. But if we have these conversations, we can kind of counter that effect. We can try and break up the bubble. And she said, I believe, I remember that she wrote in the book that having conversations with people who would just listen and ask questions, that was the start of her realizing what she had supported all these years.
That's the
and
same
for her just to eventually leave this Nazi ideology, and now she's doing education and she's I think working for an organization for people who want to leave these Nazi organizations.
That's the same for Megan Phelps Roper of the Westboro Baptist Church. It was people having kind, empathetic conversations with her on Twitter, of all places, that eventually got her to question her beliefs.
Yeah. So yeah, not talking is not helping. So let's talk.
Yeah. First Amendment, baby. Freedom of speech. By the way, to the flat earther in the comments, thanks for bringing all this attention to our channel. I'm like very appreciative of all of the and all the other SEers who are engaging with that person, although it's not really sticking to SE very much, doesn't look like.
Yeah. I think we're going to have an SE practice session on the SE Discord in like half an hour. So if you want to come over and make your flat earth claims there, we'd love to question you.
Oh, someone please record that. It'll be very interesting.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I think there's a link in this video of the Street Epistemology links. You'll find the SE Discord link there. Anything else you guys want to plug before we wrap up?
Probably.
I can.
We're on
If you
Dave's
guys
channel,
all have,
so
if you guys all have send me channel links to your stuff, and I'll post in the description of this. So
Already
I want to see your
I-
channel too, because I don't think I've seen it much yet. This was my introduction to your channel.
okay.
So I'm gonna have to get.
So
Good first
yeah,
impression.
the belief talk stuff is a little different to the deep drink stuff, and then I got my other stuff as well. So it's all a bit of a mess at the moment, but I'm trying. So yeah,
Keep it up, man. We need more people that are trying to engage with people that don't think just like them all the time, and this is really great to see. So yeah,
I might. Can
I have a call to action for the audience. Check out Daryl Davis's. Go down that rabbit hole of Daryl Davis's video. There's so much content with Daryl Davis online and on YouTube. I mean, he is what we're like. Somebody I would consider to be somebody you to look up to, and he's quite inspiring. Yeah,
Nathan, can I clip the section we talked about the box of truth and then use it on my channel and reference it to your channel?
Please. There's also actual examples of me using the box of truth thought experiment in my videos, so you'll check that out too.
I'll link straight to those exact sections.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
All right.
Thanks
Until
again,
next
David.
time, everybody.
We'll see you.
See you,
next time.
everybody.
See ya.